Normally, the maximum heart capacity is 20. So yeah, it's definitely going to be hard. So they've gotten started.
Both deciding to start in different locations. Bonta up in Dark Sanctuary, GFE in Link's House. Link's House only with 50 rupees. We have Turtle Rock and Thieves Town as the 5-6 crystals.
Yeah, those are the 5-6 crystals, and from what I could tell, it looked like the rest of them were regular crystals as well. So
yeah, I just caught on the restream all of it were regular crystals. Oh, I forgot with the 50 rupee drop, GFE can immediately buy the bombs. That's a pretty good opening.
It sure is, yeah. It's really quite convenient. Yeah, Iceman and I, we were talking just before this started. When you start in Link's house there, you can just go right down if you have 50 rupees. And now he can access a Hype Cave. Meanwhile, Bonta is going into Skullwood, so we'll see what items that they're going to get now. Alright, so far we have a lift upgrade and a bottle and a heart container, which is also nice because they are in the Dark World. Having a heart container right off the bat is very, very helpful for being in the Dark World, because these enemies, they are not fun when they hit you. Most of them can do 2 hearts of damage right off the bat, so they essentially just have 2 chances and then they're kind of dead.
And the unfortunate fetch quest shovel item in Skullwoods for now.
Yeah, the shovel. With that shovel, I guess that means that they're going to have to wait until they have Light World access to even do that fetch quest.
Exactly. No other good items so far in Skullwoods. This is not as great of a start for Bonta. Ice Rod for GFE.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Especially with Turtle Rock being required. Having that Ice Rod is going to be good for our wonderful 3-headed turtle that we love so dearly.
And GV is going to try to play the arrow game to farm up some cash, probably for the dig game right after.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got a little bit of change here for Bonta, because with Bonta going the previous direction, he already had enough money that he didn't need to, or sorry, he already had a couple of bombs, so he didn't have to worry about buying some bombs to get into Hype Cave. So he now has his glove and the bottle, and he's probably going to take the same route that GFE is now taking.
More than likely, because there was not much else he could have done in the Village of Outcast area, so he had to come down here.
Yeah.
And just a 20 in the dig game, so not very good, but trying to dig up his money back.
Yeah, this dig game in the Dark World is actually quite nice. I like to spend a little bit more time digging things, because usually you get some pots of magic, but unfortunately he hasn't had as much luck as you would like to have. Bonta picking up his Ice Rod.
No, so it's a slow opening right now. Village of Outcasts would be the next play. There's only 3 other locations before they have to dip into Thieves Town to find the next progression. If they want a sequence break, they could rescue the old man, but that's a pretty big sequence break for just a single item.
Yeah. With them not having too many items right now, that wouldn't be overly valuable. Did you see what was on that ledge? I was looking at Bonta's digging.
It was 10 arrows.
Oh, okay. So not something that they're going to be looking for. So the one thing that has changed in inverted mode is the old man is in the Dark World. So he's kind of changed locations. He's really gotten himself really lost. So you have to go in through the same location that you would normally do to get up the mountain in the Dark World. You find yourself in the old man's cave, and then you are then up on Death Mountain in the Dark World. You then need to mirror yourself to the Light World to then let the old man get back to his home.
Yeah, there's
there's the portal. Sorry, there's the portal. So to get to the dark or the light world, you can use the portal and then
just drop down. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So see how it's with only 3 bombs, not terribly great, but it saves having to buy bombs for Bonta.
Yeah, with Bonta not needing to worry about that. Oh wow, okay, so that was useful because that got him the Moon Pearl.
Which GFE will eventually get very shortly.
Yeah, once GFE picks up this wonderful fetch quest shovel, he will then be able to continue on through a village of outcasts.
Ooh, so it looks like no item Thieves Town is the next play for progression. That's going to be pretty tricky.
Yeah, that's rough with only 4 hearts. I don't know what these things are called. The mullet, whatever, crocodile.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I think there's Zazax, but I can't be 100% sure.
Oh, that sounds right, actually. But yeah, they do 2 hearts of damage, the red ones anyway, so that's not fun. And what else? The Hellway is also not fun with only 4 hearts. Meanwhile, Bonta just picked up the Book of Medora.
Which is not immediately useful, but will be needed if they ever have to go into Desert Palace.
They will definitely need to go into Desert Palace with this being all dungeons.
I forgot about that, yes.
Don't worry, I forgot too.
I thought, oh, it's going to be an easy game, all Dark World crystals.
Yeah, so someone in chat mentioning that Mullet Crocodile sounds like the right name, so I'm happy that that's going to stick.
I mean, it's an accurate description of it.
It kind of is, really. There was also a question earlier from chat asking if PED mode is allowed in the tournament. What does that mean?
I don't think there is a PED mode. I could be wrong. But there is a game mode where you beat the game by pulling the pedestal. So basically, finishing the pendant dungeons and then pulling the Master Sword.
Oh, and then pulling the Master Sword location. Okay.
And that would normally end the game, but that's not an option in the tournament.
No, not in this tournament. No. Now, there is, of course, the chance that there is something of value on the pedestal, so you could still see them pulling the pedestal. With it being an all dungeon seed, it doesn't really have as much of a, I guess, meme value as it usually would, because you're going to be finishing all the pendant dungeons anyway.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you see a semi-decent item there, it might be worthwhile to take the slight detour since you know you'll have all the pendants.
Yeah, this is definitely true. So in order for them to get Dark World access, it's very similar to a regular mode where they do need the lift upgrade and the hammer to be able to access a couple of those warp locations. The one that's just south of Link's house and the one that's just south of Eastern Palace. Or again, I guess if they get 2 lift upgrades, then they are then able to use that one spot in Village of Outcasts as well.
With the hammer and glove, they can access the Village of Outcasts one as well. But
anyway,
if you go in there without it, you're locked. And looks like Tower of Hera is the green pendant if that's ever needed.
In order to give to Sarhasrala?
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is an interesting divergence. We know logically the lamp was needed to do what Bonta is currently doing to rescue the old man. So that means after the first 4 chests in Thieves Town, there has to be some progression. There was no other play. But Bonta decided to skip that out after they picked up the Moon Pearl. I guess he's figuring Spectacle Rock and inside Spectacle Rock is maybe a bit better of a play for a slight sequence break.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Oh dear, it's just 5 rupees, but that's alright. Okay, so just a piece of heart that requires Canis Maria on the hint tile. Not something that they're going to be overly fond of searching for, I don't think.
Not with all dungeons. With all dungeons and the fact that they have to basically search anyways, the hint tiles aren't as big of a deal, but if it's on their path, it's not a huge waste of time to go check it anyways.
So if you notice, one of the changes to this mode is that there is now a staircase leading up to this part of Death Mountain, which allows you to now access the east side of Dark World at Death Mountain. And if they were to find the mirror... Oh no, never mind. I keep getting this mixed up. I'll figure this out by the end of this game, I promise.
I just realized this wasn't actually that bad of a play from Bonta because this is technically within logic. Whether there's something good up here is pretty difficult. There's a sword, so not bad. That'll make blind a little bit easier when he goes back to Thieves' Town. Actually, that's the only way they can fight blind right now.
Well, doesn't the ice rod do damage? I mean, it's not overly helpful, I guess, but...
No, I believe sword, hammer, Burna, and Samaria are the only things that can attack, hit blind.
Oh, okay. Good to know. So, I'm not sure if that was in logic, because he still needed to use the lamp to get up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he needed the lamp. So yeah, he still might have had to double dip whatever is in this one chest. Oh no, there's their light world anyways, that with the hammer. And that would have helped defeat blind. It still wasn't a terrible play, but it looks like GFE is going to have a slightly better routing.
It was definitely lucky that he got the hammer anyway. That's, wow. I'd be pretty happy to see that. A baker's job.
There had to have been...
Sorry.
Well, there had to have been progression in Thieves' Town. There was nowhere else they could have checked.
This is... Yes, that's absolutely correct, yeah.
But 4 hearts hammer blind is not ideal. Bonta will have a little bit easier with the sword. It's a bit easier to do the script with that.
Absolutely, yeah. The one thing that's easier when you're using the hammer is doing it to the side has a better hitbox, and I think it might be easier as well when you're facing downward. When you're facing upward, though, it's almost impossible to hit anything. And he was paid off with a mail upgrade, so that was really good.
Funnily enough, in the IRC just before the race, GFE was saying he was practicing his 3-heart hammer blind fight, so he actually was practicing for that and did basically as well as he was doing.
That's great. That's really good. Bonta taking advantage of those extra bombs that are sitting down there.
So it looks like GFE is going to start going into Light World now. Not even going to bother to check. Oh, maybe going over to Pod, looks like. Maybe also check the pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramid check and also catfish. It can be a value as well for him. I see that chat is discussing that Blind could have had the lamp, which then pushed them up to Death Mountain to get that sword. And then having, or sorry, not Blind, but the last chest there that they checked with the hammer that Bonta just picked up, it being hammer, it being lamp, and then having to go all the way to get that sword, and then come all the way back to then go to get blind.
Yep, that would have been pretty evil of the seed, but it was technically possible.
Yep, that would have been awful. Yeah, so GFE is going to go up to Catfish to see what Catfish has in store for him. I think they're, at this point, the mirror is going to be pretty helpful. And that's, I don't know, maybe having arrows so that you can go a little bit further into Palace of Darkness might be helpful as well.
Once they get the bow, that'd be helpful, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see now over on Bonta's side that you blinked and you almost missed the fight. He did the script perfectly with the sword. So you can really see the difference between using the sword versus using a hammer on blind. And he was awarded with his crystal and that mail upgrade, so they both have 1 crystal each now.
And Catfish with just some money.
Hey, you know, that gives them money for Zora, which is pretty fantastic. Can you imagine there's something like helpful on Zora? It's almost like they're working together somehow.
I wouldn't put it past the seed at this point. Bonta deciding to check Light World, Village, Kakariko. There is a lot of items here, so this does make a lot of sense. But first, a pedestal check just to find out if there's anything useful.
Yeah, it's a good check to have for sure. No matter what you do, something returns to you? Oh, oh, that's the boomerang. Okay. All right, so yeah.
The blue one specifically. It said blue.
Yeah.
Blue returns to you. Ooh, and a second sword upgrade right off the bat. That's really good writing for Bonta.
Yeah, that's definitely a value to have. So yeah, it looks like GFE is also going into the Light World now, and is going to be going down into South Swamp area.
Not a bad location to check. It has 2 locations in the dam area, and then Mini Moldorm for another 5.
Yep. And then he might consider going into Desert Palace, since they did get that book pretty early. Bombus Medallion is always helpful to have, depending on whether they need it to get into the various Misery Mire and Turtle Rock areas.
Or even to start clearing out Ice Palace if they don't have the Fire Rod.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. I think the thing with Turtle Rock is because you can access Turtle Rock outside of the main entrance, it might not necessarily require that medallion, so it might not be as useful as it normally would in a regular seed.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm not sure, speaking of when you mentioned going to Desert Palace, I'm not sure if that's a terribly good idea. There's only 2 items they can access, plus the ledge and Agina, unless they have the boots, unless they find the boots or find, and then they will also need to find a fire source to get into the back area as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, yeah. Yeah, it might not be as useful as going to someplace else that has more options, like maybe Eastern Palace.
Even Eastern Palace normally wouldn't seem like a good play, but because there's Slahashala's hut as well as Eastern, there's a bit more item locations, quicker checks. Although the flute is a nice find, that might send them up to Kakariko.
Oh, and there's a sword upgrade, which means that we've now seen 3 swords in this entire seed, which means at this point, when they do get around to fighting Ganon, they are going to have all 3 of those, because they're all going to do all of those checks.
Yeah, I don't see a world where Bonta doesn't check Mini Moldorm Cave, so he'll for sure have Tempered.
Yeah, and GFE is going to see, obviously, the sword that was in the woods, and is definitely going to check Super Bunny Cave as well in the Dark World.
So that's the other thing in hard mode, which the fact that this is the highest mill upgrade they'll have, as well as they'll only have Tempered Sword. The one thing I think that makes the biggest difference for most people is the fact that silver arrows will only work on Ganon, no matter how early you would get them.
Yeah, there's all these little changes that hard mode gives the runners that's going to make things a little bit more difficult. So far, aside from that flute, GFE hasn't seen anything overly exciting over in the south end of Hyrule, other than a full container, heart container, which gives him a little bit more wiggle room to get more damage done if he needs to, along with that blue mail upgrade that definitely is helpful.
Bonta finds the blue cane, which I also believe doesn't do the invincibility anymore, except for Spike Cave, but the magic that swirls around you, I think, does still damage enemies. And the useless fetch quest for just the piece of heart.
Well, if they find a couple more pieces of heart, then that gives them 6 pieces, or 6 full containers.
Yeah, it's not terribly useless, but I mean, it would have been better if it was a container instead of just a piece.
Definitely, definitely. Alright, so GFE, because GFE has the Moon Pearl, is able to do this little fun glitch of getting into the back of the waterfall, awarded with not overly too much fun. And on Bonta's side, checking the tablet there, only granting him 10 arrows. So still, they're looking for their next major item.
Yeah, it's been a pretty light seed so far. Well, at least GFE knows he has to come back here with the flippers for that cane.
Oh, that was the Cane of Samaria on the ledge?
On Zora Ledge, yep.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, that's good.
It's for sure good knowledge for him at this point in the race.
Absolutely, yeah. I was just waiting for Zora to have flippers. That would have been hilarious. Because then he would have just gone down and gotten that cane. Would have been perfect.
But instead, it's just a 10% return.
Yeah, but not the best value, not just the life lesson, you know? So on Bonta's side, we saw that he was able to access Checkerboard Cave because the terrain of Hyrule has been slightly altered with this mode. We saw that it was just 5 rupees.
Yep, the developers, when they changed Mirror only working Light World to Dark World instead of Dark World to Light World, had to adjust a lot of the terrain. So a couple locations have been flattened. There's some stairs where there hasn't been before, just to access locations that normally would have had to access the Mirror to get to.
Yeah, so far Bonta has found the master key in this dungeon. Let's see if it's locked. Okay, so it is locked by the boots, which means the boots have to be around somewhere.
Well, he could have completed the dungeon if he had a fire source, even with that small key up there. It just means 2 items on the right side are locked by boots. But the flippers being there are very nice.
Yeah, so that means now Bonta is going to be able to go, when he does decide to go up to Zora, they'll be able to get the Cane of Samaria, which is really great. GFE was able to go into the cave south of the grove that you normally would access with a mirror, and got his Keen of Burna, noticing that there's nothing overly important at race game.
And we'll find out that there's only 50 rupees on the library in the library, so Boot's not useful for that item.
Yeah, but as of now, he does not know that boots are absolutely going to be required.
But at least while he's doing these checks, he can quickly activate his flute. Bonta's going to have a little bit of a walk to activate the flute once he picks that up. But then Bonta has the advantage of having the flippers when he goes down to look at Zora, whereas GF he has to walk back. So there's basically a bit of time sink on both runners' ends for a walk to do a specific action.
Yeah, a lot of these seeds are showing that there's going to be at least one major item in each dungeon usually. And more often than not, there's some double dips that have to happen in logic.
Yeah, for sure. Inverted especially, because just for how hard the start is and for how locked the dungeons are at the start, there usually is a lot of double dips required. Almost as much as there is in Key Sanity. And there is Bonta's Tempered Sword, so he's maxed out his sword 25 minutes in. For inverted hard, that's not that bad.
Yeah, that's really great. And he's also maxed out the mail upgrade because, like we said earlier, there's only one mail upgrade, so that's it. Just the blue one.
And both runners just retracing the other steps. The question mark next to the bunny's head means it's randomized swords, which means the other options would have been swordless or Uncle Assured, which Uncle Assured meant a sword was guaranteed to be on Uncle.
Yeah, having these symbols listed up there is quite helpful in determining what the mode is that we're currently playing. Just in case we forget where we are, what we're doing, what our names are, you know.
Yeah, and it's also going to be especially useful for the people who watch these VODs on YouTube, because I believe they cut out some of the introduction where we might have introduced what the modes are. This lets people see at a glance what the mode is.
That is true too. So yeah, since they are checking things that we've already seen for the most part, we can review a little bit of what is going on, what you're seeing. This is all dungeons, which means they need to pick up all crystals and all pendants before defeating Ganon.
That also means Aga 1 also needs to be defeated as well.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding everybody that one. The bunny there that you see, that means that we started in the Dark World, so it's the inverted mode. The question mark is, as we said before, the fact that the swords are randomized, so they're anywhere in Hyrule, and the H is hard mode. So there's just a few changes to the game that make it a little bit more difficult for the runners. One being that there are less heart containers available throughout of Hyrule, and not as much defensibility.
And GFE finally picking up his Master Sword. So when he eventually goes down, when he eventually goes back to tablets, he'll be able to actually see what they are. Or at least collect the item, which we know Bombos is not useful, but Ether might be something worthwhile.
We will someday find that out. So, interesting thing now. Bonta is going to be picking up his Cane of Samaria. What does that mean now for where he could possibly go? I wonder what dungeons he might decide to take a look in.
I think the best might actually be to go to Eastern Palace. There's the Sashala, and Eastern Palace has a lot of items. That is probably the most item dense location they can access right now.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And GFE is checking out Sanctuary. Oh, so, you know, they can do a check now of the castle area, check behind Escape here that GFE is going to fall into, this graveyard area. So there are quite a number of checks to do here. If they were feeling really spicy, I'm wondering if they would attempt to get into Turtle Rock. Is that a possibility right now?
It is if Bombos is the medallion, because they don't have the mirror to they don't have the mirror or the hookshot to access from any of the other entrances. They would have to go from the top and access through the medallion end.
This is definitely true. Okay. Wow, so Uncle and the chest there by Uncle gave 2 green potions, so they are definitely not running out of magic. And Back of Escape shows nothing of use.
So that's the other thing in hard mode. I believe that the potions only fill half magic. So that essentially I think would equate to 1 magic bar.
Oh, this is true too. 1 magic bar or 1.5 magic bars?
Well,
unless you're talking it's exponential.
No, so if green potion fills half the magic bar, the other green potion would fill the rest of the magic bar. If they were filling from completely empty, that'd essentially be 1 full for 2 bottles.
I get it. I gotcha. Math is not my my career, just to warn you.
That's okay. So GFE's checking Dark Escape while he's in the area. With 6 hearts and blue mail, it's not a bad check.
Although
and I don't see what it was.
Well, it was not the map, because the map was in the sanctuary. So I'm guessing it was maybe a rupee?
No, I didn't hear the rupee count, but I don't see anything on their menu that made it look like if there's anything worthwhile, though.
It could have been bombs, maybe, then.
And nothing worthwhile through the front of Escape. But GFE with his flute is checking out the Mire area.
So we'll get to see what we are required to use to get in, and that's Quake.
I was just waiting for Quake to be there for the welcome mat.
Yeah, that sometimes happens. It's quite ironic when it does.
Either there or something needed for Turtle Rock in Hookshot Cave, one or the other. It's usually the welcome mat for the dungeon. It looks like GFE is going to make his way into and save the old man now. Probably going to find his Tempered Sword shortly if he continues up Death Mountain.
Yeah, with it being in logic, he probably will continue, and like you said, we'll have that tempered. Bonta just released the duck.
So is Bonta now going to check the escape items? Oh no, he just did. So where is he going?
There's a couple of these ledges that I don't think he checked yet. I don't even know, did GFE check this back here that Bonta's in?
I guess GFE checked this area and Bonta... Oh yeah, Bonta went through the front of escape. GFE went through the back of escape. They checked...
Oh, that makes sense.
So combined, they checked escape. And as Chad is pointing out, GFE actually looks like he has Tempered Sword, which meant he found a 4th sword somewhere. Hard mode places 4, but only allows you to pick up 3 of the 4. The 4th one will turn into 20 rupees when you pick it up. So we missed where the 4th sword would have been. I wonder if that was what was in Dark Escape.
A sword, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Yeah, Rejaro, or Reg, our tracker, basically confirmed it was for the 4th sword in Dark Escape.
Yeah, thank you so much to our tracker there, our tracker Reg, for keeping us honest. Yeah, so we're gonna see when GFE goes into Super Bunny Cave, what would have been a sword is now going to be 20 rupees.
And you can tell which item it was when it's a 20 rupee that actually says 20 rupees, like the 50 and 100, versus a red 20 rupees.
Oh, interesting. You are full of knowledge today.
So it looks like Bonta is now checking the eastern area. So we'll see if there's anything worthwhile here. Get some new checks going on.
Definitely, absolutely. Someone in chat asking if there's always stairs in front of Ganon's tower. That's not the case. It's something that's new in this mode, this inverted mode, to make sure that Tower of Hera is accessible. And Bonta just picked up silver arrows, which, as we said earlier, isn't going to be helpful until fighting Ganon, because you can't use silvers until you get there.
So it looks like Turtle Rock was Bombos.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, this is not really going to pay off too well for GFE, because although he can walk in, all he can really do is check the hint tile, because he hasn't picked up the flippers in Desert to get the Canis and Mario.
Oh, that's unfortunate. I wonder if this hint tile is going to point him that way. Something friendly, somebody friendly.
Some cash is held by someone friendly, so that's pretty worthless.
Yeah, that was likely the catfish.
Could have been catfish, it could have been Hobo, which also had cash.
Oh, true, yeah. Maybe even Sahasrara.
It could be.
I don't know, does the catfish count as somebody friendly? I don't know, I don't really consider him friendly. He's kind of mean.
I can check that out. Yep, catfish counts as held by someone friendly.
Okay, cool. GFE is using one of the only uses for Cane of Burna that he has right now, with it being hard mode, being able to go through Spike Cave, and being rewarded with, I think that was Sanctuary Heart, maybe.
He paused too early. It filled. We saw it fill 1 heart, but couldn't tell if it was going to fill more.
Looks like he's trying to decide where he wants to go next. So far, Bonta has been awarded with a heart container and a small piece of heart in Eastern Palace. So he's got 1 more check before he needs to leave.
Which this check is not in logic right now. And it looks like GFE is going to do Aga 1 to get this out of the way.
Yeah, it's possible that maybe he is taking a moment to think about what more he can do and where he wants to go. So this is a good, like, autopilot type thing that he can do while he decides where he wants to go, what he wants to do.
Yeah, a lot of runners will do this. Go find something that is very quick that they don't have to really think about to do while they're thinking of something else to do. It's not a bad play. He knows he has to do this anyways. Might as well knock this out now, assuming he's good enough to do these dark rooms. I mean, he has the health and mail for it, so it's not a terrible play.
I don't know, my thinking at this point is that they need to go and dip Turtle Rock. I think there's something there.
That's entirely possible. Realistically, with no Fire Rod, they can only access 1 chest for sure. But that chest could be holding something important. Although, Bonta is showing us Ice Palace with Bombos is entirely possible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of items to check out there. The other option would be to go to Palace of Darkness to get more items.
Palace of Darkness, but again, Palace of Darkness could be like to a rock with 1 item only accessible. But with Ice Palace having 3 hint tiles, this is also a pretty good play to if they want to check out hints in case that helps them out.
Oh yeah, that is also very true. It could point them in a direction because we still have not seen anything that says anything about a unique item is in this location to point them to a certain location. So yeah, this will be good. At this point, they cannot do Tower of Hera because the only... Wait, can they do Tower of Hera?
No, they would need Hookshot to get to East Death Mountain to then hammer back over to Tower of Hera.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah. So they're not quite there yet.
They don't have a fire source to beat Landmo or the boots to get the small key in Desert. They don't have the mirror or Hookshot to access much in Swamp Palace. So they're very limited in what they can do. They got the 2 items in Skullwood, so there's no point for that yet. Mire requires Quake, so realistically, this is one of the better plays to try.
Yeah, this is one of those seeds where there's just... It's very linear. There's not that many options for them. It makes it hard to remember everywhere that they need to go.
Yeah, so it is either here, Turtle Rock, or Palace of Darkness, even though right now they can only really check for sure 1 chest in each of those 2. And
So
GFE clears... Oh, and we've just found Tower of Hera's big key fire locked. So that's a good hint, but not something they'd really wanted to see.
Bonta finding the bug net. So still nothing overly helpful. There's one more chest here that you can check. The big key. So there might be something of use there. And GFE is going to be going in and fighting Ganon 1.
And with that bug net, normally it's not a terrible item to find. In hard, it actually is, because you can't actually catch fairies in hard, so it's basically useless.
Yeah, the only thing that it can do is if they really, really wanted to bounce these energy balls. So the hint tiles, unfortunately, in Ice Palace have not been very helpful. That last one tells us about the heart container that's above the pose, which is Graveyard Ledge.
Which they both have already found at this point, so it's just information they already knew.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Bonta just found the hook shot, so that gives us a little bit more progression, a little bit more to work with.
Yeah, for sure. Basically, I believe his next play is going to be up to Death Mountain, because that'll access all of East Death Mountain, will access Hookshot Cave, and allow him to get into Tower of Hera.
Yeah, definitely going to be pointing us that way. GFE finishes up Ganon 1. Gets himself mirrored over to castle area.
And I think that was the last item, the single arrow in Ice Palace. Not what he wanted to see, but at least I think he found all the items, so on to Cold Stare and just get out of here now with the hook shot.
Yep, I'm sure he's quite happy to have found it, because that gives him more areas to explore.
So what do you think we're going to find up in Death Mountain with the hook shot now? What do you think their next progression is going to be?
Okay, well, we did get that hint that the item that's in Tower of Hera requires the fire source. So my guess is that there's going to be an item somewhere along the way there. So Fire Rod or Fire Rod.
Fire Rod or Lamp?
Well, the lamp should have been in Logic already. Because now I'm getting my Logic all confused.
No, because the only thing so far that they would have for sure needed the lamp for is to rescue the old man. But that didn't actually provide anything. They got the flute outside of a dark room. So they would have been able to come up to the mountain and do all the other stuff that they have been doing.
Right. That's true, yeah. Because when GFE was exploring Dark World, that's when it was in Logic. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And Reg, our tracker, is mentioning that Mirror would be a fun item for them to find.
Yep, that would open up Swamp Palace for Bonta. It would open up Turtle Rock if they want to go through the other entrances.
Bonta just found the Ether Medallion, but is not going to be helpful in opening up Misery Mire, unfortunately.
Not at all. So this was actually pretty good routing, because Hookshot Cave, there was no easier access to get there than he could have done. So get that out of the way before doing the light roll checks. Although it looks like he's going to do his spiked cave check now. Swamp doesn't sound like a good play, but the fact that there's so many items and they would have need to do it anyways, it's not a bad play with how many items they still need to left to get to go mode.
Yeah, and we're seeing that GFE is going to take on the desert area. He's going to get the flippers, will then be able to get Cane of Samaria up in Zora area, and will then be in the same sort of playing field as Bonta. So GFE is just a little bit behind right now, but he's not too far behind that the race is completely over yet.
Yeah, a lot can happen. A few untimely deaths for one runner or the other. Gamble here or there for intentionally skipping items to try to speed something up. So let's see what if anything is in these 7 items in Paradox Cave. Hopefully there's something good here.
Yeah, I hope so. Statistically speaking, it should be something fun. So far, bombs and a big 20.
A heart piece to fill up his hearts. Not terrible.
Yeah, that got a full heart container out of that. More hearts. Wow. And there's the mirror. Excellent. Bonta's not happy to find the mirror there.
I mean, it's not a bad item, but now that for what it unlocks, like I said, Swamp, we had mentioned the getting into the back of Turtle Rock. I'm not sure he really wants to do either of those 2 locations at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think at this point it's probably continuing on up to do Tower of Hera.
Tower of Hera probably walk back to do Spiral Cave unless he does that first. Bow on the island, though, on the floating island.
Amazing. So that's really, really good. Allows Armos Knights to be defeated and to get a little bit further into Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, once they find the lamp, both of those locations will be in logic at this point.
Yep.
So I think that's a much better find for Bonta than the mirror. I think he's a bit more happy with that one.
Yeah, he didn't leave a bomb expressing his displeasure, so that's good.
And it looks like GFE is immediately going to Ice Palace with those flippers. Or buying bombs first, but that's a bit weird of a purchase. Spending 50 rupees for 1 bomb.
I'm wondering if maybe he looked at it quickly, thinking that it was the blue potion.
Well, that hint ruled out Mimic Cave.
Yeah, actually, I'd be really, really happy to see that, knowing that I don't have to worry about spending too much time there. So Bonta's decided not to continue. Oh, wait.
He can't because Big Key was fire locked.
Right.
That's what's in the Hera basement. But he's decided to skip out on Spiral Cave and immediately doing the back end of Turtle Rock.
This is good because being on Laser Bridge, there's 4 potential items to pick up. One of them being a big 20. Another small key. Death.
Death, but at least he was at the entrance and can just continue walking once he saves and quits back. Or continues back.
Trying to get through Laser Bridge is quite difficult without the boots, because with the boots you can do a dash and up on your controller real quick to avoid the laser beam. With this, he needs to be very careful. So he found the mushroom. That's another fetch quest.
Yeah, and with hard mode, Cane of Burna is not even useful in this area. But it looks like he's going to try the dark room or the dark Samaria maze. This is an interesting play. He must be pretty confident in his dark room logic for this.
Yeah, if you were to ask me how to do it, I don't think I'd be able to tell you.
I mean, it's a lot more linear of a path to go backwards, but
yeah,
it's not as much in their memory as going forwards is.
Okay, so Bonta was rewarded with the big key to Turtle Rock. So let's see where he decides to go next.
In chat saying Mushroom is out of logic without cape or third shield. I believe it would only be just the cape, because in hard mode there is no third shield. There's only fire shield. But then again, these are also very good runners. They don't really care about logic that often.
Yeah, the runners don't necessarily care about logic, although it is always nice to have little tidbits of the logic information to know what the game intended us to be doing.
Although, in chat correcting me, saying in hard mode that Spike Cave and other locations like Laser Bridge, I guess, if Burna has actually invincibility when it's required, so cape or Burna, so it would be in logic. Hard mode is weird to me. I forgot that one little thing. I remember Spike Cave, just not laser. I didn't think Laser Bridge accounted for that.
Someone in chat mentioning that they're not sure what's going on with the inverted mode. With inverted mode, what happened was they started at Link's house in the Dark World, and they had full access to the Dark World, and then they go through the rest of the game looking to get into the Light World. So basically the Light and the Dark World have sort of swapped places. And so in order to use items while you're in the Light World, you have to have the Moon Pearl. One of the other changes is when you're using the flute, for example, when you're in the Dark World, that's when the flute will work. The flute will no longer be working in the Light World. Luckily, we have another wonderful chatter that has listed the options there as a link, so go ahead and take a look through the options that are there and available. I'm sure that the document is a little bit better at explaining this than I am.
And Jiffy having a slightly harder cold stare fight, let the pucks get away from him a bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I wonder if he was trying to use the Cane of Burna, thinking that the Cane of Burna was gonna work to protect him.
I think that's what he was trying to do.
I guess to clarify, because maybe I was a bit confusing there, that he was trying to use Cane of Burna and it wasn't going to work for him, so the puffs just sort of annihilated him.
Basically. Unless he also tried to access his bottle to refill. Ooh, Spowler Cave had the fire rod.
Ooh, interesting.
So the way I would have routed it was I probably would have checked this before dipping Turtle Rock, and if he had done that, he could have immediately cleared Turtle Rock. But he's still on Death Mountain. He can still go back in. It's not a huge issue.
Yeah, it would have been much worse if he had have gone down, I don't know, into Swamp Palace or something. And found it way back there. Okay, so these runners are now looking for the Quake Medallion and boots to have everything fully clearable.
Technically lamp as well for the dark runes.
Oh, right. Technically in logic, lamp is required. However, we do know that these runners are quite good. They don't necessarily need the lamp to get through the rest of the game. I don't know about you. I'm not a huge fan of doing Turtle Room or the back of Mire without a light source, but I'm sure that if they really had to, they would do it.
No, I need lamp, but also lamp wouldn't hurt for them, even if they're comfortable with dark rooms, if they don't find... Actually, I don't think there is half magic, and certain things take more magic, so if they're running low on magic, it's a good thing to have in the Ganon fight, so they're not wasting fire rod shots. Although Bonta has the silver arrows, it's still, again, not a bad thing to find.
Yeah, this is true. It's always good to have extra safeties, because you never know. When you're in a race like this, nerves can really be your worst enemy, and you can find yourself on the verge of death with no magic.
For sure. So there was a good question in chat with, do the runners decide the modes? So in groups, each runner in group faces their opponent 3 times. The first race, the higher seed picks the settings, which in this case was, I believe, Bonta's. Bonta was the higher seed of the two. When the GFE and Bonta next face each other, GFE will pick the settings. And then in the third race, they each will have one option to veto, basically saying, I don't want to do this option. And then it will pick a random of the remaining options from there. And a much better Cold Stare fight for GFE this time.
So Bonta just picked up the single rupee. And there was... I can't remember what was in the bottom of the basement, but they have one more item on, what's his name here? Moldworm.
I believe they found a heart container. So it was a key and then a heart container, needing to get the big key from the tile room lock, and then the single green rupee. So this was either the compass or the map, whichever they didn't get. I didn't quite look before.
Oh, it's the map, okay. Yeah, so we got someone in chat pointing out that they have 11 hearts, and 14 is the maximum that they can get up to. And they also have full mail upgrade and their tempered sword. So this is definitely an interesting inverted hard seed that they've been playing so far.
And now that Bonta's done with his Tower of Hera, he's immediately going to finish Turtle Rock, which is not a bad play because he was low on hearts before he went on into Tower of Hera. By beating Tower of Hera, he refills his hearts and magic and then can come into Turtle Rock just to beat it right away.
Yep, definitely good for him. So he's gonna, what I guess he's probably going to do now is he's going to defeat Trinex, and then he can go into what the normal entrance is to go and get the couple of chests that he needs to get up in the other side. And then he'll be done with Turtle Rock.
Not just Turtle Rock, but the mountain altogether.
He needs to kill Aghanim 2, or Aghanim 1, I should say.
Oh yeah, GFE. Sorry, GFE killed. That's right.
Yeah, GFE was able to get Aghanim 1 down, but Bonta still needs to do that. So, if he's thinking like the same way that I am, he's gonna do what I just said and then go and do Aghanim 1.
Not a terrible idea. Some people like to wait, just basically kill it right after, and then you're teleported with full hearts. Oh no, you're not. You don't get full hearts at the end, I don't think. But you'll be teleported down to Ganon, basically.
Oh, true. Yeah, that's also a thing that could happen. So GFE has picked up the Cane of Samaria and is now going to go through, get this Ether Medallion, and continue on through East Seth Mountain. Couldn't find the bow.
Yeah, which we know is the correct play because the bow and the mirror are up in this area.
Yeah, yeah.
And he came back in for the map and 5 rupees. Not a terrible play, but you don't want to leave items just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, yeah. So because he now has the bow, Palace of Darkness is next on his agenda.
Probably finish out Eastern first and then mirror to Palace of Darkness. But essentially the same idea. He should be comfortable with his dark rooms.
Yeah, being in the qualifiers, both of these runners are quite adept at dark rooms for sure. And if you're joining us a little bit later, right now Bonta is a little bit further ahead than GFE, but GFE is right on his trail. He knows where he needs to go at this point. It's just that Bonta has collected the items a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it all depends on where the boots and Quake is. That'll really determine whether GFE can catch up. If Bonta takes a bit longer to find them and GFE happens to search the location right off the bat, that could swing things around pretty quickly.
So being able to get past those Lionels on that bridge is quite a task, and GFE was able to get through that quite well. Looks like he's looking for a ferry. If you pick up, or if you pick up those bushes there, the ones that he just picked, they potentially will have a ferry. So that's what he was just doing.
Bonta about to make quick work of the Armos Knights. For 3 bombs. Not terrible, but not what he needed at this time. And GFE also with a sword slash when he finds the mirror. I don't think either runner were happy to find it there.
No, I'm sure they would have been happy to see it a little bit earlier on this seed.
This is actually good play from Bonta. Having cleared Tower of Hera with the green pendant, immediately checks Sahasrahla, and then can mirror from down here to pick up Kiki.
Definitely a good routing decision.
It's stuff like that, which I never really thought of when Inverta came out, all these different routing decisions to make it ever so slightly more efficient.
Yeah, it takes a level of knowledge of this game that is a little bit beyond me, but it's fantastic that these runners are as adept as they are, and it's fantastic that they are showing off for us, and give them a follow on their respective Twitch channels if you're liking what you're seeing.
So Palace of Darkness was not bow locked immediately. Not a terrible thing, but with the bow, this will just make it a lot faster. Bonta's finding all the keys. I believe there's four keys in the front of Pod, and he's found all 4 of them already. A unique item with a Great Fairy. I don't think there was anything in Waterfall, so that might be a hint for the Pyramid Fairy.
So you're thinking that maybe one of our useful items is with the Pyramid Fairy?
Well, unique item can be many things, but that might give them an incentive to check it.
True. Well, at this point, it looks like Bonta just found Quake just there in Pod. So that's one of the mysteries solved.
And it looks like he's not even bothering to check the other locations. He might be pretty confident with the rest of the items, not technically needing boots for desert and not needing the lamp for dark rooms, that he's just basically gonna maybe go mode the rest. Check convenient chests along the way, but he might be thinking this is it for him.
Yeah, that's pretty huge. So yeah, we are technically not in go mode, but for the purposes of Bonta, he is in go mode at 1 hour and 15 minutes.
And GFE picking up his fire rod.
Yeah, you just stole the words out of my mouth.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, although Bonta, with his skill level, is probably in Go mode, there is still quite a bit to clear for him. Beat Pod, Swamp Palace, Skullwoods, has to still find the key in Misery Mire, so there is some locations to check in there. But it should be pretty quick, all things considering.
Yeah, let's see. I know that between finishing, like, I'm gonna say between Misery Mire and Ganon's Tower itself, that's about 25 minutes, I'd say. And then between the other 3 dungeons that he needs to do, including Aghanim 1 there, that's another maybe 20 minutes if he is really fast. We might see a sub 2.
So sub 2 for inverted, all dungeons, not that bad.
Not that bad. I'm gonna say that's actually pretty awesome.
I don't know what the average times are for inverted, so I just know all dungeons usually takes a bit longer than regular modes. But yeah, basically judging by the fact that, like I said, he immediately went to Helmsor to defeat the boss, came right over to Misery Mire without doing anything more in Palace of Darkness, it seems to look like he immediately is thinking Go mode on his end.
Yeah, definitely. So all he's going to need to do at this point with Misery Mire is find the big key and continue to the back.
He might still be looking at chests along the way after he finds the big key, only for the 1 in 22 chance that boots are required for Ganon's Tower big key if it's on the torch.
Yeah, statistically speaking, it's a pretty good chance that he's not going to need them.
We say that, but with this seed, anything can happen. Anecdotal evidence points. Sorry, anecdotal evidence points that as soon as we mention something is not required, it'll be required, and finds the God Mire with no boots to hover.
See, I don't know. I'm gonna say that was commentator blessing right there.
I mean, it doesn't take long to grab this key and then go out, but I also don't know if Bonta can hover, but by the sword swings, it looks like he wanted to try at least. So Chad is pointing out that Bonta can actually hover, so that would have been good for him.
So let's see. GFE just finished up Moldorm, Tower of Hera, and Bonta is just getting into the last little areas of Misery Mire, got through the dark part quite well, and was able to get the torch glitch, which is pretty amazing, being that he was in the dark.
So now he has to do relatively low heart, tempered sword, vitreous, but he has a potion, so it's not too difficult for him. And as Chad is pointing out, with the silvers being in Sahasrah's closet, GFE will likely pick those up when he heads over to that area with his bow. That's probably going to be the next part he checks after Turtle Rock. I don't think Bonta forgot he has silvers. It's hard mode, so silvers only works in Ganon. It does not work in anywhere else.
Yeah, tricky hard mode is tricky for sure.
So the longest dungeon for Bonta is now finished. Just on his way to Skull Woods, clear that out. Desert Palace just needs to defeat the boss. Swamp Palace is pretty easy to just go mode right to the boss. So Bonta should be finished the next 3 dungeons relatively quickly.
Yeah, I guess when I was saying that Misery Mire and Ganon's Tower will take about half an hour, I was thinking about a regular no major glitches run of the game where you have to go down into the basement and do the torches and all that stuff, and totally forgot that this is Randomizer and you don't have to do any of that.
Not if you find first big key in Mire and then just get the small key. Yeah, you don't need to hunt for that key.
Exactly. That was probably about 5 minutes.
And then what if he finds big key in first chest in Ganon's Tower? Then that cuts out a lot of that search as well.
Very, very true, yeah.
So Bonta waiting for the hand to come down, because with this version of the ROM that they use to do the randomizer, if the hand grabs you in mid-fall, it will actually grab you and bring you back to the entrance. So good use of his time there, just to make sure he doesn't get grabbed and have to walk all the way back.
Yeah, that falling business isn't the most fun activity ever, because there's been a few times where I've fallen down below the Ice Palace big chest area there, and the crawly ice guys try and get me while I'm mid-fall, and I've died in the middle of the air and haven't been able to do anything to stop it from happening.
So it looks like Bonta's going to do Swamp Palace next. Again, with Go Mode, Swamp is actually relatively quick. Still has to wait for draining the water, but running to the boss will be very, very fast.
So just in case anyone is wondering what Bonta's doing there with the mirror, it's a little bit faster if you don't have the boots and you're pumping, which is a common thing that you do in the NMG running of the game, and you have an item. If you continuously click the item, for some reason, when the sound of the item goes off, it makes him go a little bit faster. So that is why that happens.
Bonta's still checking hint tiles, finding out that there's just some money in the purple chest. Not that he was going to do it anyways.
GFE has just completed Trinex.
So we have to hope his next play is to go to Eastern Pod area. It seems like the logical play to go to next, but if he goes to try to hunt somewhere else, he's going to be wasting a little bit of time.
Yeah. Although I do think right now he's gonna do Tower of Hera, since he's now able to access the basement. So once he's finished that up, he won't need to come up here anymore. And well then...
He did Tower of Hera before Turtle Rock, though.
He beat Tower of Hera? Oh, goodness. I guess I need to look at that properly. Yeah, so... Okay, never mind. I don't know what he's doing anymore.
I'm trying to think what's over here that he still needs to get. Unless he's checking the ether tablet, but I would have thought he did that when he checked Terra.
I don't know. He must have missed it. Oh, he's checking Mimic Cave, so he missed the hint that Mimic Cave is just money.
Ah, okay, that's what he's doing. I could have sworn he grabbed that hint because I was pretty sure that was in Tower of Hera. Okay, and he was also checking the big key, the big chest into a rock. He forgot to check that earlier. But by the direction he's going, looks like he might do Swamp first, which this is going to be a little bit of a time sink for him.
Yeah, full clearing out Swamp is going to be difficult for him. Bonta has completed Swamp Palace, so all that's left now is to go after Lemals in Desert. Oh, right. GFE has the 5-6 crystals, so he's gonna see what the fairy holds. Who knows? Maybe there'll be the boots there.
That'll be nice.
Especially if Ganon's Tower Big Key is on the torch. That would really change this game around.
Yeah, I think at this point that's the only thing that could happen that would get Bonta to lose the race is if the big key is on the torch and the boots are in an obscure location. Good call for those boots.
And let's see what the Pyramid Fairy has to fill the bottle. Oh, red goo. That's good.
Neither did any part of the smith chain, and we know the purple chest is just cash, so that part of the chain is dead. So GFE probably going to check the Bonk Rocks. See if there's anything good here. Although the boots are a nice find, makes him go fast, it's leading him away from Palace of Darkness, which has the Quake, for another fetch quest item with the powder.
The one thing that I've observed with this mode, or with this version of the randomizer, is that there's a lot of value to following the logic through dungeons, and there tends to be more progression happening.
So while Bonta's fighting Lanmo, GFE's showing us that you don't need the mitts for rescuing the followers in inverted mode, because the mirror works light world to dark world. So this isn't a terrible play. It is getting him a lot of checks, especially since he just got that powder, but we just know it's not where Quake is going to be.
So the Smiths only had 3 bombs, and we're going to see if the magic bat has anything useful. Meanwhile, Bonta is going to go up to Death Mountain here and defeat Aghanim 1, which will then place him just where you would normally find yourself, upstairs of the castle, which is then Aghanim 2 in inverted.
Yep, so it's a good play to basically warp him to where he needs to be. It was a good order of doing things.
Yes. So yeah, it's a little bit backwards with it being inverted mode. Up here, what you would normally find in Ganon's tower is now Aghanim's tower. So that's where he is now and what he's going to do. And then where you would normally find Aghanim's tower, it is Ganon's tower.
So it looks like GFE didn't get the hint, or I don't believe the hint was in a location he could have checked for the purple chest, so this is another bit of time that was not needed for the race. Just getting farther and farther away. Again, not terrible checks. This was something he was in the area to do. He's just being thorough, but with our knowledge of seeing both screens, we just know this is not where he needs to be. And chat telling me that the hint was at the beginning of Swamp. He could access it, he just hasn't gone there yet.
Oh, I'm thinking, I guess his thought is because he got boots, it means that he now has to go and do the right side of Desert Palace. So I think maybe he's hoping that he'll find the Quake Medallion on the other side here.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's not terrible thinking. These are logical checks to do. It's just with our knowledge, we just know it's not the correct way to go at this point in time. But at least we get to see what's on the right side of Desert Palace.
Yeah, who knows, maybe he'll find the lamp. I know that chat currently is discussing lamp and dark rooms, so if he finds the lamp, that'll make things a little bit faster for him going through Misery Mire and Palace of Darkness. Well, the red boomerang is one of the items that was missing. Yeah, okay, I was gonna say, I didn't think there was an item there that you could have gotten.
No, because Flippers was in the big chest, so the red boomerang was the last item.
Right, yes.
So GFE knows he'll just have to go defeat Lanmo while he's here. Bonta's almost finished the climb up Castle Tower. He's at least out of the dark rooms now.
Yeah, it's a tricky area to get through, that's for sure.
Finding the hint that said the big key needed the fire, which he already knew, clearly, as he had already beat the dungeon.
So, hopefully once GFE finishes Land Malls, he will make his way over to Palace of Darkness, which means that he'll be able to get his Quake that he's missing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he knows there's nothing left in Skull Woods, so the only other place he could go and do is Swamp Palace, which again is a logical place to go. There is a lot of items there to find what he might be missing. We just know the Quake at least is in Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, it would definitely save him a lot of time if he goes straight to Palace of Darkness, because having to do left side swamp is going to eat up some time.
Okay, so we get to see on Bonta's screen, he's gonna go after Ganon. It looks like we've got one set of blue balls so far. There's the second. Oh, good. GFE is going down to Pod.
And similar to Bonta doing Eastern first, because gonna mirror right after it. So yeah, this is exactly where he needs to be. Probably do the same, check Sasrahala with the green pendant, find his silvers as well. Finish Agawan, immediately go into Ganon's Tower.
So far, we've seen two items that are not the key. We know that the ledge item is, the torch item is not locked, so that's the third item.
Which we also know boots aren't required, so looks like Bonta has a very, very sizable lead.
So far, just finding a bunch of keys. Oh no, Bonta, what have you done?
Yeah, with no boots, can't bonk across. And with no boomerangs, has to do the Canis Maria strats for these. I personally prefer it. It's a bit more accurate for me, but I believe the boomerangs are a little bit faster for most people. Nine chests down, still no big key.
Bonta's going into the back half of Rando Room.
There's a second shield.
Yeah, so that's it for those upgrades.
I mean, not a bad hard mode. 11 hearts, 2 shields, blue mail, 4 bottles, or three for Bonta, but 4 were found by Jiffy. Pretty healthy for them.
Yeah. The only thing is that this fire shield doesn't really do a whole lot extra.
Looks like Bonta knows the bomb jump for this. Most people will bonk across with the boots, but with no boots, has to do the bomb jump.
Yeah, exactly. A fun little tidbit of information. The Game Boy Advance version of this game, when you have, I think, the 3rd and 4th swords, if you run at the pots break. So you have no choice but to do a bomb jump there.
And it looks like the Beaky was on the right side somewhere.
The one thing that I'm hoping, or the one thing that I'm sure that Bonta is hoping, is that it does not have to wait for these tiles.
So you don't want 2 forced tile rooms in a seed?
Not particularly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe chat wants it, but I don't.
Well, there's 1 in 5 chance at this point.
I mean, the odds are pretty high at this point, yeah. GFE finishing up Armos Knights. And then he'll make a quick work over to Palace of Darkness. Pod. Bonta having a little bit of difficulty here. He's gonna have to be careful with magic here. Almost out. Oh, okay. Well, there's the big key. Oh! I think he wanted to die to the Octorok thing, and it fell before he had a chance to get killed by it. Hard hats, I guess, or what they're called, or something like that.
At least he got his death warp, though, and his heart refill. I didn't realize until just now, because we were listening to GFE's audio, Bonta was using the full heart speed. Most do the slower heart warning.
Oh, yeah, that is an interesting bit.
GFE now in pod, will get his Quake Medallion pretty soon. Bonta finishing up his gauntlet, or about to start his gauntlet. Still has 11 arrows, so when he gets to Ganon, he'll be good to go with his silver arrows.
Very clean first remove the gauntlet for Bonta. Didn't need to use any arrows at all.
Estalva's not wanting to sit still for the second room, but it's still pretty clean.
There he goes, picking up a few more arrows. So now with 21 arrows, that's more than enough to defeat Ganon.
Defeat Ganon and use a few along the way if he needs to.
Yeah, this room I know can be tricky with the ice physics, but he's doing it not too much of a problem. Noticing that he doesn't have enough health to refill his heart containers at this point.
I think he was checking to make sure he could do a magic refill. GFE getting his Quake. Let's see what if he decides to essentially be in go mode now, or if he wants to continue searching for Lamp. Nope, looks like he's gonna just go mode from now.
So, Bonta just had enough magic to finish up that last room there. If he had have missed one more of those fire rod shots, he would have needed to refill his magic again.
And one more fight with Trolldorm. Was being a little bit nice there.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Getting the last chest just for fun. So this will be pretty interesting. 4.5 heart, Agatu, and then immediately into Ganon.
Yeah, that might be a little rough, because that only allows for one Ganon hit, and then you're dead. Now he's down to 3.5 hearts. 3. We might be giving him this commentator's curse.
Meanwhile, GFE finishes Palace of Darkness. We'll flute over to... looks like do Swamp Palace.
Alright, so is Bonta gonna fall down here to Ganon, or is he gonna... Nope, he's just gonna go right down in and hope for the best here.
He has no fear. I mean, it's not a terrible play. If he dies, it's not a huge loss. You'll get a little bit of a heart refill.
Yeah, for sure. He's gonna check it anyway and see what happens.
He got a nice pattern though. Ganon in the corner, he can just do spin attacks here.
Yeah, that's definitely the area that you want him to be in.
Yep, already in phase 3 with no heart loss, so at this point it should be pretty academic. He has silver arrows. We just needs 4 hits on the silver arrows, so I don't see him having much trouble from it here.
It looks like Bonta was hoping to be able to do a double shot of silver arrows for Ganon there, but no problem. Finishes him up. Good timing.
And Bonta wins this race with an official SRL time of 1:51.18.
Yeah, 1:51.18. That's a really good time. And we did say that we were hoping for them to be finished sub 2 hours. So that was really good for Bonta.
Yeah, for sure. And the GFE is making quick work of Swamp Palace. He basically, as soon as he got the Quake, he decided it in his mind as well to basically go mold the rest. So he should make quick work of the remaining dungeons as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, Swamp Palace, he'll finish that up. So he'll be done that within the next 30 seconds, and then we'll have the choice between Skullwoods and Misery Mire, and we know Skullwoods is a simple go to the back half and defeat the Moth. And Misery Mire, we know that the big key is on the bridge, so it's the God Mire, and it will take just a few minutes. So, hopefully that gives him maybe, I don't know, 15-20 minutes and he'll be done?
Yeah, approximately that amount. Sounds like a good time.
Yeah, I would say so. He's already defeated Ganon 1. So yeah, he'll just need to go and do Ganon 2.
And we know the small key, sorry, the big key is on right side. So if he does the same play full left side as Bonta did, it'll be a little bit for finding that. And it looks like we have Bonta in the chat. I'm not sure if he's going to join us for an interview. I saw in the SRL he couldn't. I don't think he can join on Discord. So if you have any questions for Bonta, you might be able to at least ask in Twitch chat.
Yeah, so Bonta, if you're listening in Twitch chat, if you want to maybe do a little bit of a blurb of how you thought the seed went for you, you can go ahead and type that in and let us know if there was anything super difficult that messed you up, or if there was anything that made you a little bit salty.
We see that GFE is in the dark area of Misery Mire, was able to finish up the King of Samaria block area there. Moving into the room that has the anti-fairies. Or sorry, not the anti-fairies, the room before that one anyway. Where he needs to use the King of Samaria block to get the... Oh, you know what? Sorry. It looks like he might have been able to get the torch glitch. It's hard to see what's going on in the dark.
Yeah, I don't think he set up the torch. Otherwise, he would have gone and bombed, and then he would have hit the torch there.
True. Yeah. So yeah, sorry. I was trying my best. It's hard to tell what's going on in the dark.
That's the problem as commentators for the dark rooms. We can't see what they're doing. We just have to sort of piece together what we can see. I just know when he pulled out the bombs, it didn't look like he got the glitch properly.
Yeah, and GFE using up the bottle that he got from the Great Pyramid Fairy. Good use of it, I would say, to kill off Vitreous.
So with Misery Mire down, it's now just Skullwoods where he just has to go to the back, defeat Mothula, and then he can go through Ganon's Tower. So GFE is pretty close to being done as well.
Yeah, so in chat here, Bonta has talked about hookshot leading to Ice Palace. So hookshot being in Ice Palace. And that really did open the seed up quite a bit. It led everybody over to Death Mountain and finding the mirror and the fire rod. And it really, really made things get a little bit quicker. Oh, it looks like GFE has realized that he's missing a key to Skullwoods here. So hopefully there's still a key in this first room here. Yeah, okay, he hadn't taken that key yet, so he's gonna grab the key, get himself back in so that he can go into the back half of Moth.
Yeah, that seems to be essentially how GFE's run went. Ever so small mistakes or routing issues that just added up to time losses.
Yeah, it's possible that dipping into some of the dungeons might have helped earlier. Because I know that GFE did a lot of overworld checks. And
Yep, for sure.
yeah, and definitely the decision not to go to pod right away lengthened the gap between the two. I think, like, once getting everything up on Death Mountain, the bow, the fire rod, the mirror, and all that stuff, if he had gone to pod right away, it might have changed a few things and, again, would have had them a little bit closer together. But that's just sort of the luck and draw of Randomizer. When everything is open like that, you've got so many different possibilities, and one path kind of is the fastest. And in this case, Bonta's path is the one that gave him the most value.
Yep, but like it wasn't terrible thinking, okay, I've got the 5-6 crystal, check Pyramid Fairy. You did get the boots and you did get other items to check. It just wasn't as efficient as going right into pod and getting the Quake medallion and basically being in go mode.
Yeah, for sure. And also, like, following that logic as well, his decision to check the Great Fairy right after defeating Turtle Rock means that he was gifted with the boots, thinking, okay, well, this means that there's something useful in Desert, and so then that took him over that way. So reading this seed is helpful, but can also be proven to take us on little extra side quests that we don't necessarily need to do.
Yep, it happens to everybody.
Yep, exactly.
And that's essentially the difference in qualifiers versus 1v1 races. In qualifiers, those extra checks might not have made that much of a difference because in a large race, it sort of evens out. But in a 1v1, it's clear if one is faster, they're the winner.
Yeah. Oh, and this is good. This is going to give GFE a little bit more time. He's decided to do what's called the Dark Magician strat. Dark Magician is somebody who came up with the idea to go and do the skull room, or the Stalfos room, and then once you get all those chests, you mirror out, and then go to right side.
Yeah, just clarifying, Bonta. GFE didn't dip pod. It's just if he had done the similar routing as you after Turtle Rock and gone to pod right away, it would have been much closer than it looks. But yeah, this is a pretty big time save. He has all the keys he needs to go up. He found the big key. I think doing just a couple quick extra checks to see if there's anything useful in any of these chests. But finding none, he's just going to go right up to the gauntlet.
So it looks like GFE is going to get through this cannonball room and get himself over to the fairies, which is a good idea because it's one of those ways of easily getting some hearts. Although he is realizing that's the tricky thing with hard mode, those fairies are not going to be able to hang out in his bottles.
So he does a smart thing and just picks them up, gets the quick immediate heart refill instead of the heart refill if he dies.
Yep, and taking full advantage of the energy beams while he's at it. Oh wow, that was a really clean arrow shot right through the center of the spikes and the beamos. Couldn't have asked for a better arrow shot there.
Yeah, this was a much cleaner ice room too for GFE. So making up a little bit of time in Gauntlet.
Yeah, definitely. GFE's execution throughout this this whole area has been right, spot on. Even getting oh, I was gonna say a one cycle landmills, but no, not quite. Almost.
And making quick work of the whiz robes. I always love watching these. And this bridge will be a little bit easier with the boots. You can just dash right through.
Yeah, the small little changes that the boots does for people can really help with routing. Ooh, almost, okay. That was close. Okay, so GFE is going to want to pick up this magic refill.
Better be safe than sorry. Moldor being a little bit more of a jerk than he was with Bonta.
Yeah. He was a little bit of a jerk with Bonta, but he was able to tiptoe around him and prevented the bonk from happening. But he's just got 2 hits there, and he's done there. Good.
GFE going to go into Agawan with a little bit more health. Not getting lucky with the angles, though.
Yeah, the angles are tricky here. Yeah, I think anyone would have a hard time making anything happen with the Aghanums that he's been getting. But I think he's got 1 more hit for Aghanim, and... Oh, never mind.
No, he had a 1, 1, 2, now the 1. So just 1 more. There we go.
There it is. Alright, so GFE is going into this fight with a little bit more health than Bonta did.
Yeah, this should be a little bit easier.
Yeah. Hopefully, if he gets everything the same way, he should be able to get Ganon in the corner like Bonta was, which will definitely make the fight much faster as well.
Yep, nice quarter pattern.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. He must be used to doing the NMG strats for Ganon, because that was very clean.
Remembers to activate his silvers in hard mode.
Oh man, that would have been very sad if he fell off of that ledge. Slow and steady.
Yeah, he was trying to aim for multi-hit.
Yeah, but if I was him, I'd just focus on making sure that we don't fall off the ledge. So yeah, that was perfect. He did not fall off the ledge. He defeated Ganon.
And GFE finishes with an official time of 2:10:58.
Yep. So that was good. It said Welp that just happened was the commenting that the Triforce had for today. So yeah, overall that wasn't a very interesting seed. A little bit slow to start, not a lot of progression items, so they were sort of going through as many options as they could before they could really get going in this seed. But it was very healthy for them. They ended with 10 or 11 hearts. I think 11 hearts. A mail upgrade, full shield upgrade in all 3 of their swords. Silver arrows.
So I see GFE waiting. Let's bring him in.
Fantastic.
GFE, GG.
Thanks.
Yeah,
that was just my display of how hard mode is normal.
Yeah, hard mode is quite terrible to play. I must say that your execution of Ganon's tower was on point. It was very good.
For that, GT felt good. The rest of my execution felt horrible today. And I don't even want to think about Cold Stare.
Yeah, I was reading the IRC chat. You were remembering that hard mode, or finding out too late hard mode Burna doesn't work, and you had hovered over your potion.
Sat there about to down my potion, and I was like, nah, I'll save that. I can just use Burna and out. Oh yeah, this isn't normal.
Yeah. Well, you'll remember that for next time.
So,
But overall, how else do you think the seed went?
I mean, generally this seed was pretty, to me, I mean, my early routing felt until I finally dipped Ice Palace, and then it was just like, now go find everything but Quake on Death Mountain. Pretty much this seed.
Yeah, when we saw Bonta essentially do that a little bit before you did, we knew it was coming, and then it was just a matter of finding where Quake was. We thought we might have needed boots, but turns out not quite. There was a key in GT, but not the big key.
I was hoping that those boots would lead to something. I was ready to go straight to Pod and Eastern, and then I was like, oh, boots, let's go check Bonk Rocks. Let's go do the Smith chain and just do left side or right side desert after that.
Yeah, it was definitely a logical way to go, for sure, once you got that boost, thinking, oh, that maybe this is what the seed wants me to do.
Yeah, it led me completely away from where I wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
It would have been a closer race had that not happened, but my execution was so off of this win.
Yeah, it might have saved you a couple minutes here and there, for sure. It was good that you did the Dark Magician strategy in Ganon's Tower, because that helped you save a little bit of time as well.
That definitely paid off. I keep my RC closed, so I didn't know if Bonta was finished or not, so that did feel good.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
So
I was a little disappointed to learn that Bonta had found an early sword able to get because of the hard mode differences.
Yeah, I saw that in IRC as well, that the Super Bunny, which would have been your butter sword, was his fighter sword. He never checked Dark Escape.
At least I got to show off Hammer Blind. And then it just went south at the end.
Yeah, I mentioned after you had beat it that you were talking in IRC before the race started, saying you were practicing your 3-heart Hammer Blind. So the fact that you actually got to use it was pretty good.
Perfectly with my strategy I'd been using, except I missed the very last hit and drank that potion for safety.
Yeah, it was a good, strong strategy to do because you don't want to die to blind because that messes up the whole script.
Definitely. I would have come back later then.
So without giving anything away, if you don't want to give anything away, do you have an idea of what you want to do for your pick against Bonta in your second race?
Don't mind giving anything away. We actually had it scheduled for tomorrow, but I had to change it. It's gonna be Randomizer, hard, and randomized swords.
That sounds pretty interesting. So because you're doing another hard seed, hopefully, and relatively soon after, hopefully you're gonna remember the Burna, that it doesn't work in specific areas.
It feels bad, but gotta learn somehow.
And the net as well doesn't pick up fairies.
Sure about that one, but I couldn't remember if that was hard or expert difficulty.
It didn't hurt to try.
So, getting up ready for the second race, is there anything that you're planning on doing? Are you going to change any of your strategies?
When I'm playing against someone like Bonta, I usually take a plays, but I mean, with Randomizer, what you're going to run into, so I'll just try to do what the logic says and on point.
Yeah, in some ways, Randomizer can be a little bit easier depending on where enemies are dropped. It can make some of the rooms less painful. I'm thinking like Gibdo rooms or the Hellway. Those kinds of places ends up being a little bit easier.
Yeah, for sure. The real interesting part is going through a dungeon thinking you can finish just to find Trinex at the end in like 2 or 3 places.
Oh, that would be brutal. Wow.
Especially if it's a dungeon like Eastern Palace where, oh, I don't need the bow for this because it's Randomizer, but then suddenly there's an enemy you can't beat. You have to come back later.
Exactly. In the race I had yesterday against Leslie Pro, we found Trinex in Blind's boss room and also Vanilla Trinex. So I was going through T-Rock thinking I could finish, and sure enough, it's Vanilla.
Oh, man.
Y'all for commentating this, and thanks to the tracker as well. I'm gonna get off here and get something to eat.
Yeah, you definitely
gaming crew.
deserve the rest.
Yeah, GG was a good watch.
Just seeing it. See y'all.
Awesome.
Later.
Thanks, GFE. Take care. Well, Iceman, thank you so much for spending time with us today. It's been, it was quite a seed to watch for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun watching and commentating.
Yeah, this was my first, the first inverted seed that I've commentated. So I look forward to commentating more of them.
Yeah, it looks like it's a fun mode to commentate. Lots of interesting different routing to do, to pay attention to. I think all dungeons makes it a bit easier to keep track of, but it's still, I think, will be fun to commentate it in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be definitely interested to see what changes if it's not all dungeons and it's just the crystal requirements. So yeah, that's definitely going to be something interesting for sure. So if you're looking for more Randomizer, what time is it? 8:30. So we're looking at Eastern Time, 9:30 Eastern Time. Speed Gaming 4 is going to have Ganon open Uncle Assured hard Randomizer mode, so that's going to be fun to watch between Mentos Man and
bungeed to the tree. Oh wait, those are commentary. Solski versus JTB. Sorry, guys. And then at 10:30 on Speed Gaming 3, we've got Open Uncle, Assured, Ganon, Normal, Randomizer again, Fear Agent versus 1UP40. So you got 2 Randomizer seeds to watch later on tonight. And at 11:30 p.m. on Speed Gaming 2, we've got another one, Jet 082 versus Brewers Fan JP.
And that's a Key Sanity open Ganon randomized normal. If you like watching Key Sanities.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun. It's nice to watch the Randomizers. It's also nice to take a look at Key Sanity to see what happens with those ones as well. Those ones are always fun. So yeah, that's your randomizer for the rest of the evening. Don't forget to give GFE and Bonta a follow. This has been B-Links and Iceman. Thank you so much, Reg, to do all the tracking for us. Thank you for everybody for listening and watching.
Yep, see you guys next time.
See you next time.